All right, trying the other camera on this darn phone. This is going to be a really quick video with I don't think any edits. So I just saw my psychiatrist, my pharmacist, and then a regular doctor to get a referral to a neurologist, because I'm a medical miracle in quotes. Not really, but it's one of those I shouldn't be alive things. Like, there's a lot of things I could have died from but didn't. Some things that I didn't want to die from and didn't, but so I was reminded. So you're new to, welcome to my channel. For those of you who've gone to my channel here on YouTube, my name is Matt, and Storytime, right? That's what these are called, Storytime, hashtag Storytime. So it's a quick one, but I have to give you a bit of backstory. So earlier this year, 2020, I was in rehab, residential rehab, the kind where you live in the place, you actually live there, and you have roommates and stuff. And I don't know how it is at different rehabs, but the one I was in is known as a TC, a therapeutic community. And what that means is a lot of, they keep you packed. You have a schedule where you're always doing stuff. And when you're doing stuff, it's called programming, which I know most of us think of like computer programming, but when that's what they call it in rehab. When you're working your program, you are programming. So I'm there and I'm programming. So taking the there, I'm there, I'm in the rehab. I think I've been there at this point for about 6 or 7. I was there a total of about 10 weeks. But at this point in the story, I was there about 7 weeks, I think, somewhere around there. And we had a thing called Toastmasters. I know some of you out there have heard of that. It's actually global. It's famous. I had a job years ago, a desk job years ago, where Toastmasters was offered as kind of a perk that you could have. And what it is, you go to these places where they hold these classes, meetings. I don't even know what the hell you call them. Toastmasters events, things. And you basically, it's you and your peers, and then you have somebody from Toastmasters, like a representative, basically. And I think they're volunteers. They come out and they help you with this stuff. And what you do is, this is how it was at the rehab. It's 7 minutes maximum. You tell a story. It could be any story, funny, sad, happy, whatever. Well, I'm a natural storyteller. Might not be evident from these first few videos because I'm so damn clunky with the tech, but I promise I'm pretty good at this stuff if you give me a chance to warm up. So I'm doing Toastmasters. I was doing it like every week for 5 or 6 weeks because I just enjoyed it. And the guys pushed. They were like, Matt, get up, do it again, do it again, do it again. We like listen to hear you talk. And I got lots of stories. Lots of stories, so many damn stories from my life. My life is Storyville. That is not a brag. Sometimes that's just a pain in the ass. But anyways, so this particular night, I'm up there doing my story. I think 1 or 2 guys had gone before me in that night. I think we had a total of like 5 guys scheduled to tell stories. So I get up there, I'm telling my story, and the vibe changes in the room. Like, it gets kind of weird. Instead of us, because usually it's kind of rowdy, even when the story is like heartfelt or sad or emotional. It's pretty chill. People are pretty respectful for the most part, but also like people are in a good mood. It's like it's a chance to blow off steam. It's the night that a lot of us looked forward to during the week, because you could just tell the funny story or talk about crazy stuff, whatever. So I'm telling my crazy story and people are laughing and gasping, a whole combination of things. That's what you want in a good Toastmasters speech, I think. But then, like I said, the vibe got weird. And then eventually we get told to go to our rooms. It's clear the floor, something like that. I think the phrase was. So that means go to your rooms and close the door. This is done for all kinds of things. It could be somebody having a reaction to their medication. It could be somebody threatening staff, which happens too often, in my opinion. Too many guys telling a nurse they're going to kill her when she's the only reason you're not dead from withdrawal. You know, real classy move, dude. She's the only thing keeping you alive and you're threatening her. But that happens. It happens all the time. So it's that kind of thing. So we're like, okay, well, somebody else, is acting out, being crazy, whatever. Go to our rooms. And when we're in our rooms, like I finished, I've never forget this. I finished telling my story to my roommates. So 3 guys in that building full of like 40, 50, 60 guys. They know how the story ended. And they're the only ones who know the story that I told there. That maybe I'll tell here at some point. It's a different story. Has nothing to do with rehab. Has to do with working in Hollywood. Another story for another time. So, like I said, the vibe got weird. Whatever, go away. Come out, the place is just nuts. Like, one of the nurses is like, looks like she's seen a ghost. She looks like she's about to faint any second. She's just going to fall, just keel over and faint. People are just, like, stuff is just crazy. Something's just not right. So stories start spreading around. You start hearing, this guy died and then came back from the dead. 2 guys died, but they're alive now. hearing this stuff. And when you're in rehab, it's different than the free world. It's different than outside those walls, because stories like that sometimes actually are legit. You know, people scream, you know, like Chicken Little, the sky is falling all the damn time because their Amazon order is late. But in rehab, the sky might actually be falling, or you might have a roommate who has like serious dementia and he thinks the sky is actually falling and he needs new medication. So, you know, this thing starts going around that not one but two guys died during Toastmasters and were brought back. So here, do you want to know what happened? Here's what happened. So upstairs is where the residential are. That means those of us who are out of detox, we're considered in a safer place health-wise, we're stable, this kind of stuff. So we're up there and we live up there and we go about our routines, our programs, our programming. See, I brought that back around. We're doing all of that upstairs. We come downstairs, obviously. That's where the eating areas are and different things, and we go down there to clean. You do a lot of cleaning when you're in rehab. You're a butler, a maid, and, you know, someone with OCD all rolled into one. Lots and lots of cleaning. So we're familiar with the whole building, guys like us. They're upstairs, been there for a minute. And so what happened was, you have a thing called detox watch. So someone from upstairs, one of their jobs is to keep an eye on the guys downstairs, the guys in detox, because they're in compromised positions, they've got health problems, and unfortunately sometimes they can have seizures, they can faint, fall, hit their heads. I saw that. I heard stories about it. It's a real thing. My own stories, have I fallen and fainted and things like that? Those are for another story for another time, promise. But in this particular instance, so what happened was one of the guys downstairs had snuck in contraband, and in this case, what I mean by contraband is he had snuck in opioids that were laced, whether or not he knew it or not, we're not sure, with fentanyl. Now that opioid thing, you will not hear me joke about ever, because I have a lot of friends who've barely survived that stuff. And we won't get into big pharma yet, but someday you better believe we will. The pharmaceutical industry is going to hear all about Matthew's adventures through their hallowed halls. They do a lot of good, and they do a lot of evil, and they make money either way. That's real talk. So what happened with these guys was they both tied up and slammed. In other words, they had what was called a loaded rig. So they had syringes. I know this is getting demonetized in a microsecond, so I don't expect to make a dime off of this video except through Patreon or whatever I end up setting up. So whatever, let's just, you know, you guys want real talk, here it is. So they had loaded rigs, and what that means is it means clean syringes that are ready to go. They're loaded with the drug of choice, the substance that's going to be used. These two guys are injecting. I think one of them we found out had already been doing that for a while. Somehow he was hiding his marks that he'd injected. Maybe wearing long sleeves, I don't know, but he had been hiding it for a day or two. The other guy, I think it was the first time he had used inside the building. Now these are two guys who were in there detoxing from opioids. So they're using the drug they're in there detoxing from. You want to get into the philosophy of that, the ethics of that, the morality of that, we can discuss that in the comments, guys. But in that moment, it's just two guys are dying. What do we do? So what happens? The on-staff nurse, who's a peach, an absolutely lovely, lovely woman, whose name I won't use, unless she wants to come on here at some point and talk for you guys, but she starts doing CPR on these guys, and then a guy from our group, one of the men from upstairs, he was an EMT. He'd been trained as an EMT, so he knew first response medical, stuff like that. So him and this nurse, and possibly one of the counselors, but I never got confirmation on that, are rotating on these two guys doing CPR, which I've never done. And I'm sure some of you out there have taken classes in it. I had a class a million years ago with it, but it's exhausting. It's like physically exhausting. Like I know that after this night, I know I'm teasing out the conclusion of the story. I got to do that. I got to keep you guys watching. Got to keep you guys listening and watching the videos. I know that it's physically draining. Like to the point where in the days following, the people who had done the CPR were all like sore and like they're taking like tons of Motrin and stuff, because apparently you get like arm cramps and it really beats you up. So my hat is off to emergency responders for all kinds of reasons, but CPR apparently is like, it's like getting a cardio workout from hell. So what happens is, did the guys die? Well, the term that they use is flatline, unresponsive, crash. They crashed out, both men crashed out, and were given Narcan, which is It's an opioid reversal drug that is administered through the nose. There's a syringe with this rubber thing on it that kind of looks like a cork that's shaped like a funnel. It's like a little foam cone. It goes on the tip of the needle, and that goes up the person's nose, and these sprays, they go up their nose. One should be sufficient normally. Two if it's really dire. One of the guys gets responsive from 2 shots, and he's stable. He's a mess, but he's stable. Narcan is not an easy thing. So you're coming down from the drugs you've just illicitly done, and then you're also coming down. You're also suffering the after effects and the side effects of the Narcan. So this guy is not a happy camper, but he has it coming because you shouldn't be using it in a place that's trying to save your life from that drug. But I'll stop with my moral high horse here. The other guy, 2, and he's stable, and he crashes again. So my buddy, the ex-EMT, and the nurse at this point, from all accounts, is like freaking out. I think she had not had up to that point someone flatline in front of her where she was actually responsible for administering care. So my buddy there, he's done this before. He's had people flatline before and crash before. So he's like taking the reins. Dude's amazing. Like, he should have gotten the Congressional Medal of Honor for that day, but amazingly enough, I am not making this up, he was very modest about it. He was like, I did what I thought I should do. I did the right thing. Like, genuinely amazing character and a human being. But again, I don't want to use names. I don't want to, unless he's cool with it down the road. He gives this guy 2 more Narcan shots for a grand total of 4. I've never heard of anybody getting 4. I didn't think it was out of the realm of possibility, but I'd never heard of someone getting 4 before. But this guy was given 4, and he's finally stabilized and awake. And then in the next few days, they were shipped off to an emergency room in a hospital where they could be watched, like a proper hospital where they could be watched 24/7 with, whatever's needed, crash carts, what have you, for any needs they might have, emergency needs. So yeah, 2 guys died below me while I was telling a story about showbiz. And that's my story time for today. My name is Matt. Thanks. Please hit the like and the subscribe and the little bell so you know when I put stuff up, because more and more I'm going to be coming out with these stories here and other places too. It's going into writing and other things. I've got so many stories, and my own stories are just, got to tell those too. So hopefully you guys are with me on this. You're into it. Also, I just want to say this real quick, an outreach to the recovery community. Those of you out there who are in your addictions, out of addiction, what have you, I definitely want y'all to participate in the discussion here on the channel and in my other social media. I want you guys to be a part of this. I want you to tell your stories, share your stories. Just because we have addiction in our lives does not make us just addicts, just capital A addicts. We are so much more than our addictions, so much more. Some of the most amazing people I've ever known have chased the dragon. And that's the truth. Thanks for watching.